Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom. Today with Katharina, with Suchada, and with Navasit. So we have an interesting topic today.
Yes. It's going to be about cancer. I think we already discussed about cancer, but I want to get more insight on the spiritual perspective of cancer. So from if looking at cancer from the spiritual perspective, what is cancer?
This is a very good question because most people don't understand what really happened. And we have talked about cancer already, but more on the mundane and on the more common illness level. And it is important to understand that every illness itself is like a teacher. It is a guide that has a message for us. Illness is kind of when we fall from wholeness. And one thing that is very important to understand is we cannot get rid of illness as long as we live in polarity. We can be relatively healthy, but there is always that little part of illness, like a reaction of the body to tell us something. So we live in a very close relationship with our body. Our body is our persona, our personality, our ego is connected with our body. And but that's not who we are. You know, we are the spirit that live in this body. So this body give us the opportunity to experience life. And it is like when you look at your life path is like this. So when you go far away from your life path, there is tension in between. So it is very simple in astrology in a way to see also. When we are born, this is the planet is somewhere, but then everything starts to move around. So we go further and further and further away from that point, and we are challenged. We have experienced till the opposite is the furthest away we can go till we come back again to the point where it starts. So, for example, looking at the moon cycle, this is an emotional cycle that is only 28 days, but the sun a year, Jupiter 12 years, and so on. They are longer cycles that bring us away from where we came and bring intention and challenge. That is part of our life. So we have to answer to it, to respond to what happened in our life. You remember the word we talked about, the responsibility is the ability to respond. So whatever is unfolding in our life, we have to respond to. And if we do not respond consciously, then it's an unconscious response through our body. That means that, like, the topic is coming into our life. There is something coming, like a confrontation. For example, when you are young, like you come into relationships, you come into communication with other people, and according to whatever attributes you bring into this life, you react differently to other people. But you have to respond, to act or react. So we have three ways what we can do. And if you try to run away, then you react. That means your body reacts. And this is when the body creates an illness. There is also like illness that is very physical. Like, for example, if you go out and dance and drink too much alcohol and you have a headache next morning, that is a very mundane reaction, and has not much to do with your spiritual path. But generally also, why do we drink alcohol? Why do we need the alcohol to kind of make us happy or make to forget things? Why are we not able to move forward in a way that we don't need these stimulants and live our life that's already a part of suppression. So alcohol, we say, also is losing the tongue, you know, so you speak things you wouldn't say if you don't have alcohol and so on, right? So alcohol is maybe also another teacher for us. And if we have too much, then the reaction might be a stomach problem or a headache or whatever. So everything that happened in our life is spiritual.
Okay.
Now, when we look at that from the perspective of illness now, let's just look at illness. Very often it starts with something like, say, inflammation or so. And inflammation is very clearly an acute conflict. Something is rebelling. And this is like the inflammation shows the rebellion in your body. So it starts with this maybe, or it starts with some opposite, like tiredness, for example, exhaustion. That always gives you a very clear sign actually what it is about. So when we are too tired, we don't maybe live our energy and suppress it. So every symptom has a specific message for the body, and we talked about that before, and I don't want to talk too much about that, but just remember that illness is part of our nature. Illness is part of a teacher of within us, of our smart body that is connected also with our ancestors, that is connected with the DNA and the imprint of all the lineage that we are connected in our physical body. That is one lineage, is the physical one. Then we also have a spiritual lineage. We have, you know, we talk sometimes about soul family, and you meet somebody that you feel a very strong attraction, like a soul family attraction, even if you are not physically related, but you feel more like brother and sister, for example, with a certain person around that with your physical brother and sister. Do you know why this is the case about the physical brothers, sisters, so on?
Why?
Because we often incarnate with people as brother, sister, mother, father, that we have difficulties. And we
Oh, really?
Sure. So this is very often a difficult relationship, and it has a meaning, and it's good. We need to clear that too. So when we have symptoms, and I don't want to talk about different illnesses because there is no plural for illness. Illness is just one. Either we are healthy or we are ill. It's like polarity, you know, either it's black or it's white, but there are many, many, many gray shades in between. So that's with illness the same. Like there are many, many gray shades of illness, from nearly white to completely black, and that will be when we die. So you also know that cancer is very often for people at end, terminal illness that is signaling that this person wants to end life. You know, we talked about that before, and I know that's another very difficult one to swallow. Everybody commits suicide.
Yeah.
It's only fast and slow. Like you can commit suicide with smoking, or you can commit suicide with stress or whatever. It leads to death. So don't judge if somebody does it fast. And on the other level, when you leave the body, they know exactly what you went through. They don't judge you for it. You are the hardest judge for yourself. So also our symptoms make us very honest. You know, it's funny that some people just, they love to talk about their symptoms. oh, I have this problem and I have this problem, and they talk, and no doctor can find out what I have, and they're even proud of it. And just imagine how intelligent the illness is, hiding even from doctors so nobody can find out, so I can keep it, because illness is very often the way that you blackmail your whole family. Like everybody around you have to, be cautious, and you have to cook for me this special meal because I cannot eat anything else, and blah, 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 blah. So illness is being used from many people in this way. And they make very honest if you understand what to look for. So see, in our symptoms, we have a very special language. So very often the illness, like it starts with little things, small things, then they get a little bit worse, they come and go. You take some allopathic medicine and it takes a little bit better, but it's not really gone. And this is because it's in your head. You cannot heal an illness with neither chemical nor natural medicine. Now, even if you take herbal medicine or whatever, it's not finally healing. The healing is happening in the head.
Ah, I see. Oh.
So, once you say that healing is inside the head, I think one topic is coming up. So since we are aware that everything is energy related,
Yes.
and it has its own
Consciousness and energy related.
So does cancer has its own energy or frequency?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Like when we come to the point of where cancer and is happening, like an entity is kind of growing inside of your body. This is an entity, a part of your consciousness that has split away to grow something within you, split away to say, I do not belong anymore, and I start to grow by myself, and I don't care for the rest. I just do what I want to do. And this is a very, very strong egoism. But of course, for most people, it's unconscious because, like, for example, somebody has a woman, for example, has breast cancer, and she's the most loving and caring and sweet lady that you can imagine. And suddenly she has breast cancer. Now, why? Because what she does is she sacrifices her whole being, say, for the families, for her children, for whatever. But part of her, the energy of her, want to break free. And now part of her separates and becomes aggressive. And these women also have often first like migraine. Migraine is actually an orgasm on the wrong end, because this is also like the tension building up till the release is vomiting instead of an orgasm. And these people have a problem very often because the brainwash, like what the brainwash is about sex, and it's become very often an abuse. Most people don't have any natural harmonious relationship with sexuality because our religion distorted. It has made bad. You have to feel guilty. You cannot be who you are. You have to pretend to be something who you are not. This is a very, very big problem, very difficult, because our society as such is sick, and our planet as such has cancer. And you see it now, like the white hats and the black hats, or whatever we want to call them, are separating. Now it's the final battle, who's going to win. And see, in the physical body, at the end, like when we say the black cat is the cancer, when the cancer wins, the body dies. And what the black cat or the cancer does not know, when the body dies, the cancer has no place anymore to feed. So what does cancer do? Now, think about hospitals. Now, there are a lot of patients in the hospital have cancer, some survive, some don't. And what happened with these entities that are cancer? They're not going anywhere.
Oh, okay.
But they look for a new host. This is why hospitals sometimes are very, very dangerous places. If you are already vulnerable and already sick, then a negative entity like that has a chance to jump on you, because when you're sick, when you're in pain, when you are in a negative state of mind, it's very easy to attach, to latch on, you know. So we have to see also that, yeah.
No, are you saying that cancer is a living energy that we have within us?
Yes.
And it radiates the bad energy to destroy a body.
Yes.
We do not create cancer.
It's part of us. We create it through separating part of us to not living the whole. We are not living holistic. We are not living our whole life because we are programmed that certain things are good and bad, that this you're allowed to do, this you're not allowed to do. So there is part of you that you suppress. Everybody does. And this energy that is suppressed and cannot unfold like aggression. Like, for example, it's better to be angry and shout once in a while and let out this negative energy instead of keeping it inside. So people, like I told you before, just imagine again that loving a woman who sacrifices her life is so many things that she wants to do, she cannot do because she goes that path of serving and only doing these things that they expect her to do, but not really what she wants to do. So that part that is neglected and not allowed to exist within her is energy. Now, there are two different ways. Either you can release it some way in anger, or like sometimes even sports are good to release negative energy. But most people don't, because when they are so in service, they are so in stress and they don't even have time. And then in addition comes all that negative energy from our electromagnetic gadgets, like, you know, people being on the telephone half of the day. This becomes their social life because they don't have anything else, and then they live their fantasies out there. But this is also not the way we are made in the image of the divine as creators. And in this way of life we have now, and the last few hundred thousands of years, is allowing us only to live part of us. We are just like, you know, the horse who has these things on, I don't know what it's called in English, that you cannot look left and right, but only straight ahead. And many things are coming up when you feel that somehow you're not satisfied. For example, you work in a profession and you do every day the same or less, and you come to a point where you're just not satisfied, but you have to stay there because of the paycheck. How do you otherwise pay your rent? How do you feed your children? Whatever it is. And part of you is completely suppressed, but this suppressed part of you is there. And it starts to split off and become an entity. We can compare it like it becomes a negative entity, like a demon. You could use the word demon. Don't take me literally, but you know what I mean. So that little demon inside says, okay, you know what? I need also space to express myself and start to grow. So when you look from a spiritual point of view, it is very important to understand illness. And I will maybe mention at the end again the book from Detlefsen, who was one of my most important teachers, The Healing Power of Illness. Because there it is really written, and it is a very good English translation. It's originally German. And I read both books. I read them side by side and compared to really figure it out. And this is really powerful, because we need, illness is actually a release of negative energy. And we can say that in a way, like the cancer is the last, or no, there are other also lethal illness, but just let's talk about cancer now, is one of the last cry for help.
Oh, okay.
Why do you think that spontaneous remission can happen? Actually, there is a very good movie about that with Queen Latifah, The Last Holiday or something like that, where she was diagnosed that she's gonna die within, it was a different story, within a few months. And she sold, she cashed all her money and she went away, and she didn't die. It was a wrong diagnosis, but when you look at her life, she could have had cancer, very simply, because that's what she was living. Very nice illustration of that. So depending on what problem that we have in our life, for example, general, like I said before, an inflammation is just an acute conflict. And this acute conflict, like, for example, you have in the joints, or you have somewhere inflammation, and you don't do something about it, it becomes chronic, and you become stiff. And stiff is that the way you're not flexible anymore, and the older you get, the more you become stubborn. And the lung, the breathing has to do with communication. Like, we share the air with everybody around us, and this we communicate. Like the stomach has to do with digestive system, and colon also, like what it shows us we cannot digest life anymore. And this is not really, see, you can start to change your diet and do everything, but if you don't mentally, emotionally learn to cope with life, to digest life, to understand what life is about, the illness will not go away.
So actually, it's emotion that cause cancer.
Yeah, well, let's put it that way. We have, in a way, 4 bodies. We have the spiritual body further out, and then I would say the emotional and the mental body are like twins. You have an idea or a thought or whatever, and it immediately triggers an emotion. And it goes forth and back, and this emotion is often triggered because of the programming of good and bad. Now, if you see something that you have never seen before, and you have no program how to react, you can react natural. But our program tell us in certain situations you have to react this way or that way, and then that reaction. But if you are in a situation when you encounter something completely new you've never seen, you can be creative. You can do something with it. You don't have to listen to your mind first. Oh, this is that and that, so I have to behave like this, or have to feel like that, or get angry or sad or happy or whatever it is. It's like, you know, when you go to a live show, then somewhere is the flash up, applause, and everybody starts to clap. If they want or not, it's just applause, you know. So this is programming, all programming. So we have different organs. They give us a very clear message what it is about. So if you really want to talk healing, becoming whole again, you have to start to talk to your cancer.
So is cancer curable?
Yes.
Like those radiated treatment or
No.
chemotherapy?
No,
No.
no, none of them.
But
Spontaneous remission always happened outside of medicine.
then how can we cure cancer?
Once you understand and take back the energy, cancer has no reason to exist anymore.
Take back the energy.
Yeah. You know, when some spiritual teaching also said you have to embrace your shadow. You have to integrate your shadow. And that's again, cancer is a manifestation of your shadow. Illness is a manifestation of your shadow, what you don't look at. So of course, if you have pain or whatever, and if somebody's bleeding, I said dress the wound first, because this is a physical difficulty. So maybe you have to do some medical treatment, but definitely not radiation. Radiation and this kind of medicine is just more destructive. It helps you to die faster. And can you imagine when you look at the poisonous of such treatment, how powerful some people are that they can survive it? How much more easier it would be to talk to the cancer and survive the cancer, integrate the negative energy. And again, I have, I think I did post lately the video, like Anita Moorjani, who was there, that died from cancer, and she had to come back because her life mission was now finished. And in a few weeks, she was totally healthy. No doctor ever understood what happened. But again, she was an empath. And as an empath, the working is like you're like a sponge. You're taking on a lot of energy of others. It's like the sponge, and that negative energy, especially for many healers who work like that, they take on all the negative energies from other people because they don't know how to get rid of it. And they create cancer. And this was a very typical case with her. And once she understood that, I wonder, her consciousness shifted, her cancer healed. She was within a couple of weeks without cancer, and she was, and that was not just a thing that she had cancer fast for a couple months or so. That was a process of years.
Consciousness can cure.
Yes, only.
Only.
Wow. Medicine can cure. Herbal medicine, acupuncture, whatever you want to say it, can cure a symptom for a moment, but cannot heal illness. Okay. Illness is disharmony. They are in medicine that can cure, that can help to heal. And one is homeopathy, because, and this is what medicine says, it's quacks, because they cannot measure physically what is inside. And they talk about of the potentiating process of a remedy. They talk about dilution, diluting it with water. That's not true. A homeopathic remedy is like, again, everything in our life has a signature. Everything has a meaning. So if I use certain herbs or minerals or whatever, and what homeopathy is doing is shaking it very hard. You dilute this, you make a primary tincture, and then you shake it. And then you shake it maybe 10 times or 100 times, depending how your method works. Then you take 1/10, for example, and put again 9/10 and make it E2, and shake it again, shake it again, shake it again. Again, take a little bit and put it in the next potensing energy. Now, This is shaking out, in a way we can say, the information. We don't need the material part of this matter, but we need the information only. So when you take a homeopathic globally or water, then you receive a pure information from something that help you, and you will see when you take homeopathic remedies that something's happening in your head. Like you can have very active dreams also, for example, and something is happening within you. This is an information. It's like, imagine, and when I give you a name card. A name card has my name and my phone number, for example. So I go with this name card and go to the chemist and say, analyze this name card. And he come back to you and say, okay, there's so much paper, so much ink, and blah, blah, blah. But you won't have my phone number and you won't have my name.
Mm-hmm.
You need only the name, the information. It does not matter. I can write my name on a piece of bark or on anything. The information can get to you. And what the matter is, doesn't matter. And this is how homeopathy works. It's also like, I give you one name card, you have one is enough. I can give you 100 name cards, you don't have more. So that's like taking more and more and more. Once you have the right information, then something starts to work in you. It's not like pills or whatever you need to take again and again and again and again. Homeopathy is a spiritual medicine. That is why it is not acknowledged. And that's why they fight against it. The same with flower essences. Flower essences have a very clear signature and a very clear meaning and message. And if you use this, you can heal yourself, but you will never heal yourself with physical medicine. No matter if it's herbal medicine or chemical medicine or whatever it is. If you might feel better in the moment, but it does not eliminate your illness.
Mm-hmm.
So it can only heal the body, physical
No,
body.
it cannot, because the body and the spirit is connected. The body will never be strong enough. Like when, for example, again, if the body has an illness and shows you a symptom, like for example, you cannot breathe anymore, then you have a symptom that is connected with contact and with communication. And if you put something like that in front of your mouth and you cannot breathe anymore, really, and you cannot even see the face anymore, people losing face, people cannot express themselves anymore. I have seen several times people, I could not recognize somebody walking in my garden I know very well, and I had no idea who it is. Then she took it off. Oh, okay. So you lose identity. That makes you sick. And sick means out of harmony. You're not in harmony anymore with your spiritual path. And that's exactly what they want to achieve in the moment, that we lose our spiritual path, that we become easy prey for negative forces.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you heard about that already, that they expect that those who had most of them will develop either HIV or cancer. But HIV is a way that the whole immune system is crashing, and cancer is connected to that too. The cancer is one of the visible forms it can go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very important to understand that cancer is not a physical illness, but a physical manifestation of something that we suppress, physical manifestation of our shadow, we can say. And exactly what kind of cancer somebody has shows you exactly where the problem lies. Like again, I said, when it's connected with the lung, then it's about communication. If it's like breast and nurturing, being a woman, you know, the gender problems we have in the moment, to be a woman, to be a man. And the funny thing is, even if you change that, you have only two options again, either man or woman. So it has a reason why you're born in a certain gender, because that's part of your karmic agreement, that you live in a certain body to learn a certain lesson. So stomach, again, I said this has something to do how you can digest life. And did you know that there is no heart cancer?
Yeah.
The heart is the organ that can never have cancer.
Cancer.
Because the heart is the seat where we are connected, where that connection of the divine is. And this is where you can leave the body through the gate of the heart, we can say. That's why every spiritual teaching teaches you that you have to focus on the heart. And we know now today also, science has finally find it out. Just imagine that there are brain cells in the heart. Ancient masters and people, they knew that for a long time, that you can think with your heart.
You mean the fifth heart chamber?
Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
actually, I already, you know, have cancer in me as well.
Yeah, everybody has.
But not
But
activate.
again, do you feed it? It's like that little story about the wolves. I just wrote about it in the network. It depends which wolf you feed. There was I think it was a Cherokee grandfather, and his grandson, I think, came and asked about the good and the bad. And he said, you know, this is like having two wolves, a good one and a bad one, a white one and a black one. And then they fight each other and they fight within you. So he asked the grandfather again, grandfather, which one will win? The grandfather said, the one you feed. And this is all, and this is so important to understand. What you feed will win. When you feed your fear, your anxiety, your hatred, shame, guilt, whatever it is, if you feed that, it will win. But if you feed the divine, the creativity, the connection with the divine that is, then that will win. This is what the timeline shifting is about. Those who feed the negative, low consciousness contents, they will go down in the lower timeline. Those who feed the divine, the understanding that we are divine being, they will rise in a positive timeline. Okay, that was also not completely what you expected, right?
No. Yeah, but it gives more understanding.
Yeah.
That we should like pay attention back to our heart, back to ourselves.
Yeah.
Truly.
Get back our power.
Yes.
And see, that's also why we have to work with our thoughts and look what we feed. I said always, it's better when you're angry, go into that anger and explode it, that this energy can get out.
You mean express the anger?
Yeah. I mean, you might not be able to shout at your boss or whatever, but then, you know, Elisabeth Kübler-Ross, one of the very first person who was really studying spirituality death, she said, you know, what she did is like in ancient times, we had telephone books, right?
Yes.
And the telephone book was usually something very thick and heavy.
Yeah,
So she was collected the inside of the bicycle, the tube, you know, the rubber, that is the air inside. And in her workshop, they have to hit the telephone books till they completely fly apart. So to put the anger in this, and I did that with the dartboard in my workshops, and it was a similar thing, but it's a bit more dangerous. You cannot do it with big masses, right? So I had, it was fantastic. I had one guy in one workshop. It was really great. And I sent him to the dartboard and I said, now you write down, don't put a person there, but just things what you hate, things what you're angry at. I'm angry at this and this, but not at the person. And then you shoot the arrows. And first, you know, he just kind of oh, she's crazy. I'm not, what does that help? You know, and I really saw, I was hiding a little bit and I was observing him. It was so funny. And then suddenly he started to get into it. And then I hate you, damn you. And he used all the shade words, and he one arrow after the other, because I had collected a lot of arrows. And I always said nobody goes nearby when somebody's doing this exercise. And you should have seen him afterwards. He was like a beam of light. He was smiling, he was giggling, he was laughing, because the whole stuff went out. So of course you cannot judge. This guy was from Hong Kong. Hong Kong is also very, very suppressed.
Yeah.
So you do something about it to get rid of that anger. That is healing. Because as long as the suppressed energy is within you, it hurts.
So
we all have it, you know, as long as we are in the physical body, we are in this polarity, forth and back and forth and back.
Okay, we should release it. Release the negative energy.
Yeah, let it out, because it will come more. Because as long as you're in the physical body, as long as you're under that law of polarity, and it doesn't matter what age you are, there's always negative around, and you have to release again and again and again. Maybe unless, you know, there are some masters living in a cave or in a temple or whatever, they meditate the whole day, chant the whole day, absolutely nothing negative is coming towards them. That might be fine. But I have seen monks who were very sick. Because they suppress part of them.
You mean the negative energy, right?
Yeah, I mean, they do all the chanting, the whatever, but there is still some black wolf inside that want to bark, and they don't let it bark.
And one more thing, also about the sex energy, we also suppress it. If we don't have sex, so we should release it as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And you know, again, that is like the whole topic about what is good and what is not good, that masturbating is something bad and then you shouldn't do it. No, for heaven's sakes, do it. Release this energy. If you hold it in, it makes you sick. It doesn't mean that you just go and sleep with every woman and every man if you feel like it. It's in that way better, at least as I understand it, that you release this energy by yourself instead of hurting somebody else with it, you know?
I see.
And you know, illness will catch up with you. You cannot run away. There is no way out. At one point, it will catch up with you if you are not releasing and transforming your negative energy, that it's always a little bit in balance. You know, it might be a little bit like this sometime, but then you can handle it because you understand what it is. And then you don't need to create cancer. Because your negative energy has not, that does not have to become so big and so aggressive to start to kill your own body.
Impressive.
Okay, so I think that's enough for today, right? So to my audience, if you like the video, please hit that little up
Like
and subscribe. Thank you very much for listening, and we talk soon again.
Thank you.